This is Mike Connor with In the Treehouse. And just like last week, we are in what I'm calling the Treehouse Annex, which is a lot better to sit than up in the treehouse itself this week. We've had a lot of rain this week, and so it was a little swamped up there.
And it's now hot.
It's now hot. We have the fire going. It's warmed up. It's much better weather this week. We're hot today. Mm-hmm. We are very hot. I am excited to have Swift Sean Johnson with me. And very soon, we're going to be joined by Big J Nelson. And they're going to be telling their story. I do want to, as we get started, just remind folks, if you're watching and you have questions, text them in. Our producer will get the question to me for Swift or Sean or Jay, and we'll get it. So, just by a little bit of introduction, we met a month ago or so.
Just about. I don't think it was on.
It was at a Christmas party.
December the 5th. It was this month.
Yeah, so only a couple of weeks ago.
Only a couple of weeks ago.
We had a chance to meet.
Romance instant.
Oh, it was. It was. Yeah, I love you and Jay. We were at a Christmas party at an office that we share, co-work at, and we just were together. And you guys were telling me your story, your life story, what you're doing, and I was like, oh, would you guys come on my show and tell your story? So the premise of this, as you all know, is in the treehouse. I believe in dreams. I believe dreams are formulated oftentimes when we are young, and those dreams are in a treehouse or someplace as a child where our imagination is just allowed to go wild. And we are uninhibited with having grown up yet. There's still no limitation to our thinking. And so I would love to hear, when you were 4, 5, 6 years old, what was your treehouse? Describe your treehouse, whether...
it's crazy. My treehouse, that is great, by the way. I love that. What is my treehouse? Because these are true things that we think about as a kid. But when I was 6, my dad played bass for an artist called his name was Clifford Curry. He had a #1 hit. She Shot a Hole in My Soul, and it was on the blues charts. And I was on the congas at 6 playing them. I was already into music, so I've always dreamt of being an artist in some form or some fashion. And so I that never stopped for me. Yeah. It was always that. And so as I got older and got more involved, around 12, 13, I started doing talent shows. And started winning talent shows, which was really exciting, because I'm like, oh, I think I can do this professionally. Yeah. And so then I met Jay, and he'll be here later, but I met him when I was about 14 to 15.
And before you go too far, I really didn't introduce you well to say why Sean and Jay, I just love what you did. Sean and Jay, you're going to say in a minute, met Little Richard, when they were younger, and became part of Little Richard's band.
That's correct.
And continued that relationship
30-some years.
Yeah. And it's just been absolutely awesome. And so I think
we got a co-host here.
Yeah, we have a co-host.
But so it was, not to interrupt you or anything, but you're absolutely correct about that. And it was maybe 4 years after I started performing at 13, and I was even a drum major in high school. I played tenor bass and marched. So we were like a AAA high school, and we did all of that stepping and dance moves and all the latest
Yeah.
songs that were on the radio, we would do that. And so I had a lot of fun, and I consider that training.
Yeah.
And getting me prepared for the big stage.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
That's where I really from. I went to Austin High School, and that's where I was in the band, in the marching band.
Yeah.
And that just led me down the path that I wanted to go, and I knew then. Again, taking back to the treehouse, it was just always in my family because my dad was a touring artist. He had an opportunity to play bass for James Brown, but he didn't because he was like 16 or 17, and his mom was very Catholic, and she would not allow him to go on tour. Yeah. But he still went on tour.
Yeah.
It wasn't with James Brown. Now, ironically, I ended up meeting James Brown later on and actually going on tour with him.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that until just now.
Yeah, I mean, him and Little Richard would tour often a lot.
Really?
In between years or whatever. But
Yeah.
there was so many different artists that I grew up watching that I've met, which was really cool. But back to the treehouse, I knew that. I knew that at 6 years old when my stepdad, I should say, called me out on stage and said, "Hey, I want you to play the drums." And I was playing the drums to one of the songs. And after that, man, and the crowd went crazy. And I was standing there, 6 years old, no front teeth. And I'm like, I can do this. I think it. Because you lose your teeth when you come back.
Yeah, makes me think of that, all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth.
I have vampire fangs right here.
Oh, man. So music has been your dream your entire life.
It really has. It really has. And we'll dive into the business stuff later. But that was just the beginning. And, I was fortunate to have had a long career with such a huge artist like Little Richard. Just an icon and someone that literally started it off. It really changed the genre.
And I hate to say this. I've been telling people you were coming on the show today because I'm super excited about it. And I was talking with someone, and I said, these guys, they were in Little Richard's band. And they were like, who's Little Richard? I was like, how old are you again?
Yeah, you gotta know your demographic.
Yeah. And I mean, if you are younger, if you're a millennial and you don't know who Little Richard is, Google Little Richard.
Yes, Google.
Let me put it this way. This guy didn't just go, play with Little Richard. You are also in a little museum someplace.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
He is a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All right? I get to sit with somebody who is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Maybe a little coolness will wear off on me because I'm not the cool that you are.
So just to be super clear on this, so people that are watching understand, I was filmed with Little Richard in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so we're in the archives of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He is an actual member.
Yeah.
I just got to ride his coattail in there. So they say you can't sneak in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I think we did. We snuck in. Little Richard just kind of drug us in, and I remember that conversation with him talking about that. I want to give Jay a little bit of conversation too when he gets here. But,
sure.
He has a million stories. His memory is
awesome.
About a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What's crazy is that me and him we sought out these goals together as teenagers. We were like 15 and 16, and we won every contest we could win in Knoxville. Then we went to Nashville, we won those contests. Then we said, okay, we got to go to Los Angeles. We got to go to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we wanted to really pursue our dreams in a big way.
Yeah.
And we met Little Richard walking down the street. But I got to give God the glory because actually, how we met him, we went the first day we got there. We went left on Sunset Boulevard and headed towards Beverly Hills, and we walked because we were from Tennessee. We were walking for days, and we walked past all these huge mansions. And I remember seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger in a convertible Ferrari, and I was thinking, man, that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We were in Hollywood, and someone said, if you saw him, that was him.
That was him.
They all working.
Yeah. This is where they work and live.
This is where they work and live. And the next day, we went back that night, and actually that night, we were so overwhelmed, we went back and prayed. I said, Lord, just let us in, Lord. I mean, it doesn't matter. We just want to be someone. We're out here. And this is overwhelming. And we left the hotel, we turned right, and we walked down the street, and not even a block. Little Richard came out on the balcony and said, hello down there.
Yeah.
We were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's Little Richard. And okay, for all you young folks, back then, you know, you had a camera. You could get the disposable one, or you could have the regular
one with
we had a disposable one.
Little cardboard.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we went back home to Knoxville after that whole thing, I remember telling my parents, you know, we met Little Richard, we're gonna make it. And they were like, yeah, right. I was like, wait till I get the photos back from Walgreens.
1 hour Photoshop down there.
It wasn't 1 hour then.
Oh,
so you have to wait a couple of weeks. So, you know, you're on pins and needles waiting to get to. But I'll never forget, he called my house, and because I was then discussing, you know, should I go to college or pursue music full time? And that kind of gave me the boost and confidence to think I can do this. So he called my house, and
not just his agent, he
actually personally called. He was a very personable person, and I'll never forget. I think it was my aunt that answered the phone, and she hung up. She came back to the discussion because we were in a powwow. That was like, you gotta go to school, blah 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 blah. And right in the middle of that powwow, the phone rings. She goes, yeah. She comes back, and she's like, oh, there was someone that was acting like they was Little Richard. I was like, whoa, what? You know, and I was like, wait a second. What is going on here?
Yeah.
And luckily, he called back.
Yep.
And that right there, and the rest is history. And I went out there.
That's
Come on in, my brother.
Here is.
Hey, man. Sorry,
Good.
guys.
No, we know you've had some personal things going on, so we are happy that you are able to join us.
Me too.
And be here. So.
Me too. It's good to be here.
So. Big J Nelson is here, and we're just catching up on a little bit of the.
I was telling them about the time Little Richard called my house, and they hung up on me. They didn't believe it. Yeah, they didn't believe it was him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Mona or what. Mona, if you ever watched this, I don't know if it was you. That's my aunt.
Yeah.
And so
hold that a second.
Sure.
And since Jay got here, Jay, this is about our treehouse dreams when we were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, right? And the idea that I believe every child has someplace, right?
Yes.
But you know, not everybody had a treehouse,
Right.
right?
Right.
Not everybody, but everybody had someplace where they could escape from, you know, the parents, siblings, whomever. They go into their closet, they go into a cardboard box, they go into a treehouse, you know, whatever, where their imagination can go wild and they can dream and they can just like be anything that they wanted to
If they want to be.
What was your treehouse when you were growing up?
We lived in a very small apartment, me, my brother, and my mother, the three of us. And I always had my own bedroom, but I had a closet in my bedroom. It was pretty big for me. And inside of there was my stage.
Uh-huh.
I've always dreamed of being in show business. It's
Yeah.
really wild. And so there I was, a little guy in my underoos, my Spider-Man underoos, and a pair of my mother knee-high boots,
Yeah.
white boots, those 70 go-go dancer boots, and one of her wigs on, Afro wig, and I was Michael Jackson.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the only part I had down was him going, "Oh, thank you," and bowing, "Oh," and kicking one leg, "Oh, thank you." And that was my stage.
Yeah.
And I would go in there and I would play for hours,
Yeah.
pretending that I was on stage and taking my bow. And
How old were you then?
I had to be 7.
So I was 6.
Yeah.
I was 7. I was telling
between
him.
5 and 7 is when I really
Yeah.
that imagination.
Isn't that something?
Yes. But I never had a dream to be an astronaut or fireman.
No.
It was always entertainment.
Yeah.
So little when I think back, so little to want something that I had no idea how you got there, but I was
How do you attain that,
how do
right?
how do you make that a reality?
Yeah.
And but I never had any dreams of doing anything else.
Well, so.
And you see why we've been together 40
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Your dreams like so.
I was 6, and my dream, I was telling him, Oren played with Clifford Curry.
That's right.
He pulled me out on stage, and I was playing congas with Clifford Curry and him and
You were
the
on
band,
stage,
and I was on stage then. And after that, because I was locked into my own world, and I looked up and the crowd went crazy. I said, "Oh, this
Gotta have that.
I gotta have this."
I had that same experience. Mine was when I was little. They didn't have. I don't think they had what they called kindergarten. They may have had it, but it was called Head Start.
Head Start.
Yeah.
It's called a program called Head Start. And so I went to Head Start.
Yeah.
And when I went, I guess I suppose the teachers saw something in me because I had just started there, and they made me the MC of the school's play. These were high school students and stuff in the play and doing whatever talent program, but I was the MC.
And you must have been 4 or 5
I
years
was
of age.
4 years old.
Yeah.
And they would literally whisper something in my ear, and then I'd go out and just regurgitate it to the audience. "Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to tonight's program." That kind of thing. And they clap, and I go back, and some adult sit there and hold their hands on both my shoulders. "Okay, I say, here comes the next act, Frank and BB. Here comes the next act." The people were just going crazy for it because there's this little bitty baby out there emceeing the whole,
Yeah.
And so that was my first on stage
Well, and isn't it?
experience. And like Swift,
So-
I knew then that could never stop.
Yeah.
I knew then that had to happen.
So we're attention seekers.
Attention seeking behavior.
Well, what I would say is, and I believe I've come to this point of belief that God gives us dreams
Yes.
and visions and imagination in order to have a vision of the abundant life that He has for us, right? And sometimes we lose that dream, but God has a dream for us, right? And you guys tuned into what God wanted for you at a very early age and held on to it as tightly as you could and lived it out.
But we were given an opportunity. See, somewhere along the line, an adult saw him and said, "He'll do it."
Yeah.
Because I had a daughter and I really she was so cute. I wanted to really get her into the industry.
Yeah.
Just because I knew how to guide her.
Yeah.
But she didn't want it.
Yeah.
So she, this little girl, cute as a button, and we'd be like at the mall and they'd have the modeling kind. They'd see her walking, yeah, put her on. And I'd get her, and she wouldn't do it. So there's something to a person that wants that, but it's also something when an adult sees that in a child and give them that opportunity. Because there's no way he's getting out there on the bongos with Clifford Curry unless somebody said he'll do it and he wants to, he'll shine.
Yeah.
Same with me. I had no idea at that age that I wanted to do that, but my mother and I guess the Head Start teacher said, "This little Jack, he'll do it."
Feed it.
Yeah, and
He's
I
not
did
afraid.
it. Yeah, he's unafraid.
Yeah.
The way he talks and the way he conversates with others, he's outgoing. They saw something in him. Yeah. And so I think that too, but I think overall it was God putting those people in your life too, because He was the only one that knew one day we would be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So
Yeah.
he was getting us ready and guiding us.
Yeah,
We were
absolutely.
on the path to unite.
That's true. That's true.
So tell me about that whole concept that you know what you're supposed to do, but that you know what you're supposed to do, but maybe sometimes you don't necessarily listen. What happens then?
You know that. Well, I'm gonna go back one more step. Because his brother, his older brother, was like my best friend in middle school, and he watched both of us really get it to be in music, like hardcore, and very serious about it.
Yeah.
And we both had groups. We were rival groups.
Yeah.
And
Really?
Small town boy band competing against each other.
But we were the only two serious ones in each of our groups.
Okay.
Like we were very adamant about practice, and you gotta be on time and do your steps. You gotta know what you're
We were the
doing.
leaders of.
Yeah.
He was the leader of his group,
Yeah.
and I was the leader of mine.
So his brother had an insight and was like, "Look, you know, I see you come to practice every day. People not showing up at your practice, and I hear my best friend complaining about his guy's not showing up. It's y'all two should get together. I think y'all could really do something." And he still to this day, I would say, "Man, you took my best friend."
And they're still close.
Yeah,
We'll go out somewhere and them two will be there and laugh. What the hell are they laughing at?
We still got our own inside
So they
jokes.
have their inside thing where they just start cracking up. I'm like, I feel left out sometimes. But no, it's all good. But yeah, my brother Casper, he said, "Jay, you need to be with Sean. You need. He's serious, and you're in here practicing by yourself. Your group didn't show up today, but you're holding rehearsals by yourself. You can't do it by yourself. You need somebody like you. He'll practice as much as you want." And so,
So let me, even that, I think, and we'll talk some about business as well, because not only have they been in the music business, right?
yes.
You are running a successful business now. I want to get to that. But this idea that you have a dream and you are rehearsing even when nobody else is listening
Mhm.
and nobody else is showing up,
Mhm.
right? The dedication.
You know how bad it was in my hometown. And this was even after we were in a group together. I'd be walking down the street because I'm a prolific songwriter. That's really my greatest God-gifted talent, is writing songs. And I'd be going down the street singing, writing a song, singing out loud, just walking on my journey,
Come to my house.
coming to his house, I'm going home from his house, and I'm singing and I'm writing it, I'm going over the lyrics out loud to the point people in my town say, "He's crazy." That's that guy walking around singing to himself all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to be crazy
Yeah.
to be born in a small town in the foothills of the Smokies and think,
Yeah.
I can make it. That's a crazy idea. It's a crazy endeavor.
Well, you know, not just that too. We were in an urban area. We were in the projects.
Yeah.
So our options were drugs, prison,
Yeah.
or death. I mean, that really was the three we had in front of us.
Yeah.
That you can see.
That you could see. But of course, our parents always instilled something better. Something
Yeah, it
more
wasn't in
for
our
us.
home.
It wasn't in our
Right
house.
outside our door.
It was outside of our door. That was what we saw every day coming from the bus stop, going home. You trying to get past all that craziness.
Yeah, we had to go against what was there.
Yeah.
And so even more so crazy. What is he singing? And not only that, I would go out to our fairgrounds where they would have the county fair, and there was a constant stage, a permanent stage. And I'd climb over that fence because it's locked. And I'd get on that stage and I'd perform by myself for 6 hours. Just imagining that the place is packed and I'm doing my dream.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's how you really end up manifesting.
Well, we ended up doing that.
We ended up playing that stage
We ended up playing the stage.
to a sold out.
To a soda.
Yeah, years later.
Yes.
Really?
When we connected.
Yeah.
So this is before me and him were together when I
Yeah.
was still, maybe even before I formed my group, but it was always a dream, like I said, since a baby. And so I would walk down from my grandmother's house, go to the fair, climb over that fence and just sing and dance and take bows. Oh, thank you, Michael Jackson. And just imagine one day that, this could be my life.
And it was.
And it happened on that very stage.
Yeah. That stage and hundreds more.
And you know what's crazy?
Yeah,
You're saying that we end up being in the same room as Michael Jackson in Washington.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When was this?
It was in DC, wasn't it? Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson, and
Bill Clinton's inauguration. We performed at his inauguration. He had about 200 parties. We played at one. We played at the one where he came up and played on the sax. We were there with Little Richard's band with the was that the Jay Leno's or either what Paul Schaefer?
No, Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer, that band. David Leno, whoever they back.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul. No shade to you, sir. Just a lot. But yeah, we performed at Bill Clinton's first inauguration, and so there I'm looking at Michael Jackson, and that was the guy that when I was little, before I knew what it meant, before I knew what it, 5 even. Yeah. It's just by when I got big enough, I took action.
Yeah.
I got her boots and her wig. And I went in my dressing room stage, and I started, taking my bows then.
He wasn't coming out of the closet.
Yeah.
No.
I can't now. I can't want that.
Although I do want to ask, just you still have those underoos, and you and your wife, enjoy that. David won't go there.
They were Spider-Man. Now they the Hulk on the thing now.
Yeah.
Bigger. Like I used to tell Little Richard, because when I met him now, I was an 18-year-old skinny kid, from Tennessee, fresh off the bus. One day later, when we were sitting in his presence after having got to Hollywood, and he called me Big J that day, and eventually I grew into it.
Yeah.
And I said, "You named me Big J," so I grew into it.
That's
and we used to laugh about it.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you started talking about your aunt hung up on Little Richard.
Yeah.
Right? And
that was amazing. That was really scary for me because she comes back to the powwow. She says, "Hey, that somebody had Little Richard." I'm like, "Oh my God!" Yeah. And then he called back, thankfully, and then he asked me to come to Hollywood. And it was the rest is really history because at that point I went to Jay and I was like, "Look, man, Richard wants me to come out there and be his valet, and hey, whatever happens, we're in this together."
Yeah.
And I made.
And he said, "Should I go?"
And I said, "Should I go?"
He actually, as though that was he actually good man. He said, "Should I go?"
Yeah.
I said, "Are you kidding? You have to."
Yeah.
Dude, you have to.
And it was a group. It was a group then.
Yeah,
we just was. I knew how we always landed in the same.
I was like, "Go."
Yeah.
Even if you're the only one that make it, man, I'll have a friend that made it.
Yeah.
Maybe one day you can open the door for me.
Yeah.
But that's better than nobody.
Yeah.
And I've never been the envious type.
Yeah.
I can appreciate somebody over there having a really good life and vicariously for a moment.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jackson, taking that bow. I can just enjoy seeing another person win. I always could. So I was like, "You got to go. This is your chance."
Yeah.
Well, and what that says to me is you knew your dream.
Yeah.
And you lived your dream.
Yes.
And you knew Sean had his dream.
Yeah.
And you knew he was living his dream.
And he had it before I met him.
And but it doesn't create a competition.
No, because he had it before I met him.
Yeah.
So if we went and out of us going, you win, that's still a win.
And that was so much. That was such a boost of confidence, and it really let me know that he was truly my friend. So that's what happened when I came back.
He built the ground. He built a solid friendship with Little Richard first.
We met him together.
We met him, but he called for him.
Yeah.
He went.
Yeah.
Spent what? 6 months? 8 months?
That was about 6 months.
About 6 months. So
I was ironing socks, underwear,
all that
everything.
stuff.
He had me doing all kind of crazy stuff. But what I found out later, he was just trying to build trust. He wanted to see if he could trust me around the circles. Of course, day at work, I met Eddie Murphy, Harmonies, Debbie Allen, and unmatched. They were there, and I woke up to laughing. And I'm like, wait, what is going on? And I woke up and they were sitting there because, you know, Little Richard lived in a penthouse suite, so he had space, he had the couch, and I had a little rollaway bed over there. And I was like, whoa, what? And then I was just, I couldn't stop thinking, why didn't Little Richard wake me up? Why didn't he wake me up? I was supposed to be at work. You know what? He took a meeting, he didn't wake me up. So I had to get up and go in there, and it was just crazy though, just right there. First day at work.
Yeah.
And, you know, he always told us, look, when you were entertainers and stars, because we asked for one time, he got so mad. And he was like, man, don't ever do that. You're here. Yeah. You're in it. Yeah. We deal with that all the time. Yeah. People come up to us, ask for pictures and all this all the time. You got to enjoy that moment, enjoy that memory. And, you know, one day you'll be in that position. Yeah.
And don't put them off guard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like right now, they're relaxed.
Yeah.
They're with Little Richard. They're not with the fans.
Yeah.
So you are in here because of me. Yeah. Don't be a fan.
You're just like anyone else.
Yeah.
Your work.
For their sake.
Yeah.
Let them be themselves. Because as soon as you ask for an autograph or a picture, now they have to be that thing. And sometimes they want to just take a reprise from it. Yeah. And so he taught us that, and it was sometimes it's hard.
It was very hard. Yeah.
When Michael was sitting right there, it was hard.
Oh,
he actually put us out.
Yeah, because somebody else took a picture.
Somebody took a picture. Our road manager, Wayne, if you see this, you know what I'm talking about. Wayne took the picture.
And Michael said.
And then Richard cleared the stage.
Everybody.
Because it was that sound check.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I got the picture. You did get a picture. That's really good, too.
And so, you find yourself, like we were in Pori, Finland, at Pori Jazz Festival. And we're sitting there, there's 100,000 people there. And I'm waiting to go up, I'm waiting for my number. And on walks the stage, Bob Dylan.
Well, we didn't know at the time.
And then he sat down right beside me. I'm like,
who's that?
Yeah, but then I go, and then he said, hello, the softest hands you ever touched. I never forget that man's hands. Yeah, I said, he's touching nothing but women and money with his hands. It's so soft. And so we were there, and he said, what do you do? I said, I work, for Little Richard. He said, you know something? I said, what? He said, that was my dream. He said, you're living my dream. I started playing guitar because my mission was to be Little Richard's guitar player.
Really?
Yeah, he said, and were it not for that, there would be no Bob Dylan. That was my goal. It didn't work out, but I'm still here because of that goal. Yeah. And you're living my dream. You're in the band. That was my dream, to be with that guy right there. But either way, it leads you here. That's what Bob was telling me. Either way, it leads you to this moment where you look at this. Look where we are because of that man. Both of us.
So we've been talking about you having lived your dream, where all these fascinating things, and you guys have so many stories. I love it. We gotta have more beer and maybe even some whiskey and some other things and really talk. Where are you going from here? Because our dreams don't end until the day we die.
Right. Yeah, we again, God's providence. It's really amazing because we just started about a year ago filming our stories of hanging out with Little Richard, being with Little Richard, and being part of his band.
The whole band.
The whole band. Our story. Yeah, we and let me go back to the origin story of that. Is because me and him was writing a song about Little Richard.
Song of appreciation.
A song of appreciation. It was just like, hey, no one's ever written a song of appreciation. There's been songs about Marvin Gaye. There's been songs about Otis Redding. No one's ever given him his flowers. And we started writing these songs together. But then he passed away. On this, he had bone cancer, and it happened so fast. And it was during COVID. So there was really it just happened quick. And then it turned into a memorial song or something like that. Not really.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Well,
describe it.
at
It
the
was just
funeral, we were like with the band, and it was the first time we had been with these guys
yeah.
without touring.
Yeah.
30 years, 28 years. Every time we see these guys, we're on the road
You're
touring.
working.
Yeah, but it was a constant thing.
Yeah.
But here we are back together with no show.
Yeah.
And
Our leader is gone.
Yeah.
And so there was two things that were happening. One was this still feels right with nothing to do but to be here.
Yeah.
The brotherhood was that deep because it's like being in the military or something. You've been in the trenches with these guys all over the world, every situation, performance-wise. And we realized how much we do love each other and love being together. And then we played the song. It was like, this is what we was doing for him. And
Yeah, we showed them the song. I was like,
They were like-
look, we've been writing this song, but we're gonna have to
Man,
tweak
why
it a
don't you let
little
me
bit.
be on it?
Yeah.
Why don't you let me?
So-
I'll play on it too.
Yeah.
Because we realized the whole band was like, we'll play on it.
We'll do it. Yeah.
So now we have a song that's from the band for him.
Yeah.
And as we start doing it, we was like, we need to
We need
document
to film,
this.
yeah, we gotta document
this
this
is
stuff.
now huge. It's not a little thing me and you are doing. This is
Correct.
This is
It,
bad.
it turned into a big deal. So then, we filmed all that, and now we realized as we were filming, we was at Zach Brown's studio, John Hopkins' studio, with Zach Brown
I
Band.
want to
Yeah.
kill it.
Yeah.
I almost wore that.
My brother, man.
We do that a
I wanna
lot.
kill
We
it.
dress a lot now and deal with each other.
Yeah.
Love you, John. Love you, brother.
So as we were doing that, well, the band fired up a little Richard song.
Yeah.
Me and him jumped on the mic, and we got through, and we just kind of stood there for a second, just dead silence, and looked at each other. Wow.
And so were the people, the film crew,
Yeah.
John Hopkins, everybody was like, because now you just heard Little Richard's music the way he
He
did.
did it.
Yeah.
This is his band. They
Yeah.
played it the way it goes.
Yeah.
The live version
Yeah.
that sells all over the world.
Not the record.
Yeah, the live version, like if you ever had the
Yeah.
privilege of seeing Little Richard live, you just heard the music minus him.
Which nobody had heard in how many years? Because
Right.
he stopped touring.
Yeah, for like 15 years before he died.
Yeah.
So it was a
Yeah.
real
2000,
powerful
well,
moment.
2000,
Yeah,
2013, something like that.
Yeah.
Because he started getting older,
Yeah.
his health started declining a little bit. But anyway, fast forward to today, we're now the co-lead vocals of Little Richard's band.
Yeah.
We're planning the tour, we're planning on releasing this documentary.
Yeah.
And everything is moving forward, and people are excited about this. So if somebody sees us, we're available for booking still. We're not closing the door completely, even though we have future stuff coming up where we're going to be touring.
Yeah.
And what's amazing, we did, because in doing the documentary and reforming as the band to continue on to show the world and new generations that music, never let it die as long as we're here.
Yeah.
We played in Canton, Georgia on the 21st of September, this past September,
Okay.
the Tutti Frutti Music Festival, in order to just get some performance video in front of an audience for the documentary.
Yeah.
And
that was the last part of
the documentary.
Yeah.
And the fans came in from all over the world, literally, in America, and they loved it.
Yeah.
And they had
different cities.
they
different
partied with
states.
us so hard, and it felt like, in a lot of ways, just like when he was there, but without his presence. But the vibe was, because we were a big part of that vibe more than we even knew, and so it worked out. And then,
and it was just, not to cut you off, it was hard to no one could actually jump in that position
right,
to sing Little Richard songs, because we knew every affliction, we knew every little
because we never
hiccup
stopped
that he
being
did,
fans.
and
We watched them every night
for
for 30 years.
And you still be like, man, that's Little Richard.
It
Every
was
day.
amazing.
No duplicating.
You've seen it 20 years and it was still amazing.
Still amazing,
And
man.
you go, wow,
What?
the talent was immense.
Well, I know, I'm part of a local Rotary Club here in Alpharetta,
I'm still
and we do a summer concert series in downtown Alpharetta
okay.
of different folks. And so
Right.
I know they would love to have you
You
guys.
love to do it. You love to do
You
it.
know somebody that you know.
We'll get you.
Tell them you know the band.
We will get you hooked up.
Here's a great story, man. So we did that. We named it the Tutti Frutti Music Festival. And word got to the city of Macon.
Uh-huh.
And the city of Macon, beautiful lady,
Uh-huh.
Lisa Love, reached out to us, and they let us know that Macon felt that it would be right to have that happen every year in Macon.
Which,
So,
if you don't know, Macon is where
the hometown of
Little
Little Richard, where he was born and
Georgia
raised.
Music Hall of Fame was there.
Yeah, and Lisa Love was the president of the Georgia Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring the Tutti Frutti Festival to Macon annually. We're going to put his statue up,
Yeah.
and they're going to make December the 4th. His birthday is December the 5th. But they're going to officially celebrate it every year. They have for the past 2 years, but we're going to bump it up and make it the other kind of level official. So we're about to do some big things. To answer your question, with Little Richard's band in his hometown.
Cool.
And we're going to make sure that his legacy continues at the level it should be, and that's our mission, our state mission now.
I love it. I love it. Well, and in addition to that,
Mhm.
I know you've got some other business. And
Yes.
as a business coach, I always love
Got
hearing
paid
about.
today.
You know, and because we all know, unless you hit the level of Little Richard, music ain't paying the bills. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's no residuals in that.
Yeah.
I mean, with the words we have and all of that, we didn't write any Little Richard songs.
Yeah. So what are you guys? I mean,
So we
tell me
got
about your businesses.
a commercial roofing business
Uh-huh.
that we started.
Excel Commercial Roofing.
Yes, Axel Commercial Roofing.
Yeah, it'll be in the link.
That's
down
right.
below.
And that has really been an interesting thing. Because a lot of times when I wasn't on the road, Little Richard, in 07, I started getting into roofing,
Okay.
which was this is all God.
That's
Let me
just
tell you-
like
let me just intervene right there. We're on tour. We're talking to Lloyd Price. He wrote Personalities, and actually gave Little Richard's demo to the record label that got Little Richard's deal. So we're on tour, and Lloyd Price is there, very wealthy man, because he wrote that song. And he said,
Never sold his rights.
yeah, and kept it. And so he's publishing $250,000 a year for the last 50-something years. And he says, dude, you got to set up another business. Besides, this music business is very hard.
So I own a construction company.
Yeah. And he gave us an appetite to do something more than just music if
Yeah.
you get an opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's, go ahead, Swift.
So
I just
yeah,
want to know where the
that's-
seed was
so
planted.
That's where the seed was
that's where you went from music
sitting
to
on the bus,
construction.
on the tour bus, and
Yeah.
he's talking to him and Little Richard talking again, and he's like, yeah, man, I got a construction customer. He was like, I would spend $100,000 a year just blowing it,
Yeah.
just blowing through it. So I had to get smart with my money. But yeah, that was the seed that was planted. So when I met these guys from my church, they were sitting in this coffee place. I was like, what are you doing over here? Come sit down and talk. So I'm thinking, oh, here we go, multimedia marketing.
Yeah.
And it was roofing. He's like, you can make your own schedule. You can do whatever. You build your own clientele. When you
Yeah.
come off the road,
Yeah.
you can come do this. And when I got my first check, I was like, is this mine? Like, this is all mine.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's just one roof.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, man, I got an appetite for that. And I was still gigging, and I was come back, I would restart.
Yeah.
So that kind of led up to fast forward today. I wanted to be my own boss because I worked for companies and I made the millions. And my wife came to me. I got to give her the credit. The last company sold, and she said, "Why don't you, just start your own business? You got all your content. You don't. People call you every day, all the time. You can just start your own business."
Yeah.
And she was who I was worried about anyway.
Mhm.
So when the chairman of the board said, I was like,
Life
and
after
so
life.
me and Jay was talking one day. He's like, "Hey man, what's up with that roofing thing?" And I was like,
And how long you been doing that now?
almost 2 years.
Okay.
My own business.
Yeah.
But roofing 17.
Okay.
But
And
my
he's good
own
at it.
company.
Yeah.
My
He's good
own
at it.
company.
Excel.
I love people. Yeah, I love people, and so I'm just genuine about when I come and I talk to customers. I don't fluff it. I'm not used car salesman.
You're not like the reputation of roofers that are out there.
It's a
Yeah.
very intimate business.
It is.
If you think about it, you're never putting a roof on for a stranger of the building.
Yeah.
If you're putting a roof on that building, the person that's making that decision loves that building. It's
Yeah.
their home or it's their business.
Yeah.
And that's a very personal thing. So it was in his wheelhouse because he's a people person.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about roofing too, you know, as long as you are honest with people and you tell them what they're getting, what the
Yeah.
product is about, that's all that matters. Good on your warranties. You can excel
Yeah.
very very fast in
Yeah.
this business.
Yeah.
So God has been blessing us with that, and
That's awesome.
that's the main frame. That is the heartbeat of anything that I've done, and what we do together is we put God first. So the seeds planted,
Which is what connected us.
that's exactly what connected us.
Absolutely.
We're true believers, and you know we never do anything without God. I mean, it's always putting Him in front of us and not me pulling God along and supporting things that I want.
And we're not softies about it. If you're on the other team, we're your ops. If you're on the other
Well,
team,
we want you to come
Yeah.
and hang out with us and,
Absolutely.
and understand why we feel this way and why we're excited.
Yeah.
we're going to fight just as hard for God and for what's right as people do for the other side.
Absolutely.
That's for real.
Absolutely. So with Excel, what are some of the challenges you've had maybe in growing that? Because a two-year-old business, in the first 2 years, I mean, they say businesses fail within the first 3 to 4 years. So how is it that what challenges have you had?
Well, you know, the challenge is I face so far. Me and Jay are having too much fun.
That's a good problem to have.
We're having too much fun, so it's not really work. But I think the main thing is, you know, you have to be not louder in the competition, but you have to be something different. And I think a lot of times the face to face and you know, meeting people face to face and being where they meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
Because you know, with businesses, it's a board.
Yeah.
It's a committee.
Yeah.
And decisions have to be made. So my challenge for me is really the getting out there, putting the name out
The
there
marketing.
in the marketing.
Yeah.
That's been a heavy challenge because all of the marketing that I've done, there's still a gap there. There's still a hole there. I can't seem to feel right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're not alone, right? I mean, probably every business I work with, marketing is key, right? If we don't fill our pipeline,
Correct.
right, we're not going to have customers. If we don't have customers, we don't have revenue. If we don't have revenue, we don't have a business.
And no matter what you're doing, if people don't know you're doing it, they can't react to it. They
Exactly.
can't get involved.
Yeah.
So, marketing. Steve Jobs said, if I had $5, I'd spend $4 on marketing.
This is true. And, you know, I'm going to give God the glory again because the phone calls have been coming in.
Yeah.
And I've met people like yourself.
Yeah.
And like Chris and Ramon.
Yeah.
They've been very supportive.
Yeah.
And very excited about
What you're doing.
what I'm doing. And they're like, hey, you know, we want to see you excel and be very successful. So God has just been, me and Jay call it manna. Because we get just what we need every
Right
month.
when we need it.
Right when we need it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's
So
just,
faith-based.
it is. And it's so right on time. We get everything we need just right when you're like, man, it's dry here. Gotta be like, the phone ring. Hey, can you come? Hey,
When people,
That's awesome.
like we just be talking and somebody will come up to us, hello. That same way little Richard.
Yeah.
Hello, just interrupt us. And then be a blessing. Be somebody we need to know right then that just come up. And
You were right in that path.
Yeah.
Same way, just hello.
Yeah. Well, and I think bringing us back around, and as we start to wrap things up, you know, we start with dreams, right?
Mhm.
And where our dreams started and how you're living dreams now, and the whole concept that I shared, that our dreams are visions of what God has for us, right? When we get aligned to it, how God will start to bless us.
Yeah.
When we lose sight
Yes.
of what God's dream for us is, then we start to go our own way.
It's like being on your own.
Yeah.
Why do that? God is good.
Yeah.
And what he has for you, I wanted to be in show business, but I couldn't dream big enough to be like lead singer of Little Richard's band. That was beyond anything I did. Even Little Richard wasn't on my radar. It was just,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have to stop and go, wow, God's plans far exceed ours. They're godly. His goals for you are godly.
It's true. He dreams way bigger than
Yeah, we're just
Yes.
human.
Well, and to that end as well, and maybe this is kind of some closing thoughts. And I coach folks, I often challenge them, where do you want to be in 5 years? Right?
Mhm.
And they'll say something, I'd love to have a new house. I'd love to, it's like, okay, I want you to stop and think back. Where were you 5 years ago to where you are now? Right? And if you take even the last 5 years and you were to flip it over to the next 5 years and how far you've come in the last 5 years, how far are you going in 5 years from now? In 2030,
Limitless.
what dreams does God have for you guys? And how do we get there by 2030?
I say we study, for him and I, we studied the course because when it started manifesting before us, we've done this throughout our lives together. We do this what if thing, and then we imagine it, and kind of like me up on that stage, we start acting out what other people would be doing, and it has always happened.
Yeah.
It's scary sometimes that it happens.
Yeah.
And so we imagine ourselves touring the world with Little Richard's band, putting roofs on buildings in those same places where we go, where this thing takes us.
Building the
Building it. And then even yesterday we added on his worshiping. His
because you're a worship pastor in the local church.
So we can do that.
I do that in a volunteer capacity.
Yeah, so I was like, you can do that all over the world too.
Yeah, and I used to do that full time as well, and that is good.
So imagine that we just Friday, Saturday night we play a concert.
Yeah.
Sunday
We worship.
he leads worship and I attend or help or whatever. And then before we leave that city, state, country, we do some more business, put some Axel lids on some buildings, and then we go do it somewhere else the next day.
I mean, that's one of our.
That would be the cherry on top of this whole.
That's our dream. We don't call it brainstorm. We call it dreamstorm.
Dreamstorm.
So, and
we could finish like that.
Yeah.
I could finish this life on earth.
I think when we set that goal, I think that's very achievable. And right now, we're on the right path to doing that. I don't advise. You can try to do the same thing we're doing. Everybody that don't have the same talents, but I will say this: if you want a successful business, you've got to put God first. Lord Jesus Christ, your Savior. And Lord over everything, you will be successful.
The only things that he built last. You want it to last 40 years later, still getting better.
Yeah.
And we had to make some new dreams because all the other ones came true. Imagine that.
Yeah.
All our goals when we first met came to pass. We had to go and say, we need some new things. We got to get some new dreams.
It's true. It's a true story.
I love
We need new
that.
dreams.
Oh,
They're
gosh.
all done.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
It's like God, all my dreams,
All
but
done.
God gives you bigger dreams.
Yes.
And God isn't done with us.
Right. Yeah.
And we can't have dreams.
And can't outgive him. And that's another, I'm segueing into that, another part of that. What we're building is to help others.
Yeah.
And be, not so much as a coach, but just like reach our hand down to pull up your next person. You know, whatever, you know, God puts in our path, we connects us with, because I believe that has to be ordained. You just don't want to give the girl to the swine.
So like road work with Barrett Gresh, his organization, Hop on a Cure.
With Gresham Barrett.
Barrett, yeah.
Congressman Gresham Barrett.
Yeah. Hop on a Cure with John Hopkins. The Thrive Initiative with Chris and Ramon.
Yeah.
I mean, these are side things that have come into our lives that fulfill that charitable side to us. Because we've always wanted to help.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of our pledge. We gave our lives to Christ together at his grandmother's kitchen table before we started our
Because we knew Hollywood was weird.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
All right.
Hollywood. So we understood that we would need some armor,
Well,
and we got it.
well, guys, thank you so much for
Thank
being here. This has been.
It's been an honor. Sorry I was late.
No. You
Glad I
know,
made it.
You were in the kitchen.
yeah.
Hot dog mustard.
Yeah.
I kept.
So I want to take just a few minutes and thank my sponsor, Fist Pump, who does, if you don't know Fist Pump, Brandon Lee and his team who produce this show, all the folks working behind scenes. Want to thank Action Coach, who I have, an Action Coach firm and working with business owners all across the area and nation to grow their business, to achieve their dreams, to do the things that God has put on their heart to do. And so it's a real pleasure for me to be able to do it and to hang out with cool cats, and maybe I get a little bit of coolness from them.
Some hip dudes.
Yeah. Because Lord knows I've never been in that category. I am the.
You're going your own way.
Yeah. You're being nice there. So anyway, thank you all for joining us today, and we will. Next week is Christmas. Spend time with your family. We will not be broadcasting Christmas or New Year's Day. So we'll be back here in 2 weeks, and look forward to seeing you all then.